Hello, Internet, and welcome to another episode of Thursday's Children here on Game Nights. I'm gonna sneeze. No, I'm not. Hi, everybody. Sorry about that. We are here today to hang out with you on the internet and play Vaesen. But before we do, let's talk a little bit about the channel. This show happens on, if you're live with us on Twitch, hello. We're so glad you're here with us today. Join us in chat. Buy things from the store. Go visit our merch store while you're here, all that good stuff. We're glad you're here with us today. Our schedule is on our drop page down below our faces. If you're curious about the other games we run, we play all kinds of games on this channel. We do impromptu video game streams. We play Savage Worlds. We play other stuff. I don't know why that's the only one I can remember right now. We play Fate. We play Masks. Yeah, we play Cypher.
Good Society.
Good Society. My brain went Savage Worlds. I'm not even on that show. It's gonna be one of those days. But yeah, our schedule is down there. If you are with us in the future on YouTube or watching the VOD, you can find our schedule pinned to our Discord and our shows channel. You can find our schedule pinned to our Twitter, or you can just ask one of us about it. We'll tell you. We're not shy. Come be our friend. Come hang out with us on Discord and stuff. Other than that, we have a merch store up and running with some they're not super new anymore, but some newer items in it. You can get t-shirts, you can get tank tops, you can get mugs, you can get phone cases, you can get all kinds of cool stuff with the GGK logo on it, or with fun stuff that we've said, like do it if you're nasty, or buy fly and ready to die, or the amazing Gubba Bump, didn't fuck it up, shrimp company logo, the one that's been abandoned due to giant predatory hallucinogenic land walking shrimp since 2021. You can get a t-shirt that says that on it, and that's really funny in my opinion. And I don't think we have any channel announcements. Our schedule should be basically the same going forward this coming week at least, so check it out. I am going to pull up my notes with my recap because I forgot to open them while my lovely cast introduces themselves and tells you who they are and who they are playing today, starting with Sid.
Yeah.
Probably.
Hey. Yeah, it is. You're right. You got it. Hey, I am Christina Sid. You can find me on the Twitters at Greek Sid. For the most part, just posting stupid memes and talking about the fun stuff I do on the internet. Like here, I'm here on Thursdays where I run a game of Good Society. I'm here on Fridays, every other Saturday, and here, like right now, on Sundays. It's great. I'm also over on twitch.tv/InfiniteRP Monday nights at 8 o'clock, including this Labor Day. It seems appropriate, playing Flames of Freedom. It's Revolutionary War plus Eldritch Horror. It's a good time. We have a great commission reveal that we're doing for retweets. Please come and check it out. It has sustained me throughout this week. It's really good. So definitely check that out. But today I am playing Tilda, the writer.
Hello, everybody. I'm LB Hackemup. You can find me at LB Hackemup on the Twitters and the Twitches. I am here tonight playing Villiblom. She is the servant, but you can find me on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays on my channel, LB Hackemup, on Twitch, and a lot of other things too. Tuesdays here on GGK, Mondays on Indoor Adventures, and Lauren and the gang plays games on LB Hackemup on Thursday nights. So a lot of cool stuff going on. If you have any interest in our VODs, it's on YouTube, which is linked in it's on my Twitter, and it's on the Twitch. So yeah, check that out. But again, I'm playing Villiblom. She's the servant.
Hello, everybody. I'm Val, Kraken's Crown, on Twitter and Twitch. You can find me here Thursdays through Sundays doing game stuff. I specifically run 3 games here on the weekends. One on Friday called Neon Souls, which will be coming back this week. We've had a couple weeks off. We're doing a cyberpunk game using the Cypher system, and we're reaching our season 2 finale, so come hang out with that. I also run a game on Saturdays, or 2 games on Saturdays. Saturday nights Star Power, which we had a session of last night, which is a Fate system game. We're playing in sort of a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure inspired world. And then on alternating Saturdays, I run a game called Saturday Night's Mistborn. We're playing the Mistborn RPG based on the novels by Brandon Sanderson. That's everything that I run. Then I'm here for Vesen on Sundays. But today I'm playing Dr. Danni Matson, who is the Doctor.
The Doctor. All right. And you know me, I'm Savvy. I'm at Savvy Seaworth. On the internets, my streaming schedule is on my Twitter. I'm here Thursdays through Sundays, and then I'm on LB Hack 'em Up Sunday nights after this, which we will talk about and plug again at the end of the session. And we are down a friend today. Normally we would also have Morgan. We're at Imagine Matrix on the internets, on Twitter and Instagram and all that good stuff, but she is out doing what she does best, which is cosplaying it up. And so she is out today, but she will be back with us next week. Unfortunately for her, her character's gone right now. Let's have a little bit of a recap and tell the people why that is. Previously, on Thursday's Children, the Society did some more investigating. I'm so proud of them. After regrouping at the Citadel, they set out to find the ash tree from Tilda's drawing, heading out of Grimsey and into the forests. Their search led them to the home of a friend of Alina's, Karina, an old medicine woman who lives in a secluded home in the trees outside the city. She helped them as best she could, and though she was reluctant to do so at first, pointed them in generally the right direction, and the group headed further into the wilderness. Eventually, they encountered a creature, an ash tree wife named Ashira, whose name was not meant to be a pun. I'm just now realizing by looking at it. Didn't do that one on purpose. An ash tree wife named Ashira, whose tree had been badly damaged by an iron spike driven into the roots. They removed the nail, buried it as a show of good faith, though it didn't stay buried for long, thanks to a resident doctor. And Ashira agreed to lead them to her family. Upon arrival, Rala, the eldest of the ash tree wives, led them to an underground shelter where they were housing the women who had gone missing from the city. Danni tended to Nikita's ill child. Villy caught up with her friend Adela, glad to see that she was all right, at least for the time being. After determining everything was, for the most part, at least, okay, the Society left, promising to return again to help how they could. However, as they left the tree, two of the ash tree wives called to Alina, who separated herself from the group to talk to them. They asked her if she would like to discover where she came from, and when she agreed, they wrapped her in a cocoon of branches, and she disappeared into the forest floor. And that is where we are going to pick up today. So, Alina has told you she'll be right back. She has gone around the other side of the very large trunk of the ash tree, sort of a little bit deeper into the woods, and disappeared. 5 minutes pass. She doesn't come back. I assume you all refuse to wait any longer than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alina, we've got to get going. She's gonna...
Alina?
Billy's gonna move around the tree.
You move around the tree. Nothing there.
Alina? Where's that child gotten off to?
Beatrice, come here. Good girl. Find Alina. Yeah? Find Alina. Go ahead, go.
Ooh. Let us do a roll. Using, I assume Beatrice gives you some kind of bonus.
To simple melee, but
Simple melee. I feel
I
like
attacked the tree.
I feel like in this specific scenario, she can probably give you a bonus to, let's see, investigate, probably investigation.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's do an investigation. We'll call that Beatrice.
All right. Give me a bonus, girl. Thank you. She's such a good girl. 1 success.
Okay. So you send Beatrice off, telling her to find Alina. She sniffs around the base of the tree, coming around the other side, and seems to have picked something up. She makes her way about 50 more feet past the tree into the woods, and there is a little it's not big enough to be clearing, but sort of a little open space between a couple of these larger trees. And she comes to a patch where it looks like the dirt has been disturbed. She sort of sniffs and then sits.
Is this it? Yeah?
There's nothing here.
The earth has been disturbed.
What you're saying, she went into the ground?
Would explain how she's disappeared.
Perhaps we simply didn't see her wander off somewhere. She's prone to do that, right?
Perhaps we could ask the Woodwives?
Without helping their cause any further, I'd be... I'm not sure if they'll provide us with any more favors.
We're not just gonna leave her if she's been sucked down somewhere. Miss Nina! It's gonna move off.
Okay. You start calling out for one of the ash tree wives.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You call out Mina's name, and after a moment you hear kind of a rustling in one of the trees above you, and one of the women appears. It is one of the smaller ones, the younger looking ones. She's got very, very sort of short cropped hair, like a very severe bob of like dark green hair and black eyes, and she kind of lounges on the tree branch and just looks down at you.
Beg your pardon. Do I know this one's name?
Yeah, this is Mina.
Miss Mina, I beg your pardon. I don't mean to disturb you, but Elena's gone missing. It looks like the ground's been disturbed. We're not quite sure where she wandered off to. Can you sense her or find her in some way?
She looks at you and nods and sort of bouncing around inside your head again. You hear her voice.
I can try.
I'd very much appreciate it.
She stretches and sits up on the branch and then sort of moves, kind of shimmying along the side of it. She puts a hand to the trunk of the tree, and you see her kind of disappear into it. A couple of minutes pass, and she reappears from the same spot, sort of looks down over the edge at you, and you hear in your head,
Sorry. No luck.
What do you mean by no luck? I'm not quite sure what you did.
I looked for her, but I didn't find her.
Right, where did you look?
Everywhere.
Oh, I'm sorry. What do you mean everywhere?
Well, she was in the forest. Now you don't see her. So I searched the forest. I don't see her either.
So she's left the forest.
Perhaps.
Well, is there something in the forest that could have taken her?
Lots of things.
And do you sense any of them here? Or in this spot where she was?
Here? No. Although the ground's been disturbed.
Yes. I need to find her, as she could be in trouble. Is there anything that you can offer for that?
Your friends aren't my responsibility.
No. But we're helping you. Right?
As far as I can tell, you're helping you and your people.
What would it require to gain protection for her?
As you say this, she sort of leans back, looks like she's thinking about it. And in the tree across from her, across from hers, sort of across this empty patch, you see another one of these women appear, sort of swinging down on a branch to sit on a lower one. You've met this one as well briefly. This is Kira, the one with the very long braid, who likes to stare at you very intently.
Oh, great, that one.
And Mina looks across to Kira, and you see them. You don't hear them, but you see them sort of look at each other, sort of staring in each other's direction for a moment or so, and then you all hear again.
We can try again to help you find her. And in return, we want the man in the hat.
Want him how?
Here. Silly.
You want us to bring him here?
Yes. Bring the man in the hat here. And both of us will help search for your friend.
And what will yield, what sort of final results will be yielded from the two of you as opposed to the one of you?
We can cover twice as much ground. We can
I thought you
speak to
searched the
twice
whole
as many
forest.
trees. But your friend is magical too, is she not? She could be hiding. With two of us versus the one of her, perhaps we'd have more luck.
If you find her, then we'll bring you the man.
No.
What will you do with the man if we bring him here?
We hadn't thought that far ahead.
I'm assuming it's nothing good.
He tried to kill our sister. Would you do anything good to him?
She's gonna lean down to Tilda. If they can find her, that's one thing. But if they're just gonna look, she looked for all of 3 seconds and told me she searched the whole forest. How do we know what they're going to do?
Is there a roll to be made as to, I don't know, do we believe them?
Observation?
Are they
Yeah,
shady?
you can roll observation. It's kind of like a gauging people's moods and intentions.
Do I still have +2 going forward?
From what?
The blessing?
You do, because that continues
yeah.
through the remainder of the mystery.
You can use it on one roll.
I got 0.
Wait, the blessing is only for one roll, or I thought blessing was
No,
the
it's for one roll, but
Yeah.
you can hang on to it until the end of the mystery.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Got 2.
Woo!
Okay, let me double check and make sure I'm saying the right thing.
Because last week I think I used it a lot last week. Because that when I had asked last week, that was the census, but I didn't look it up. That would make sense.
+2
Be a
to a
little
test of their
OP.
choice. It expires when the mystery is over.
Okay, so just one test.
Yeah, just
Okay.
one test. It's that she can do it once per session for
Okay.
somebody, but they last until the end of the mystery.
Okay. Until you use it.
Yes, until you use it. All right. 2 successes. What specifically are you trying to gauge, Billy?
Well, I was told that they were gonna look for her in the forest, and they came back after a minute, and they were like, they told me that she wasn't here. And now they're telling me that if 2 of them look, they might be able to find her. So I'm seeing if they're like just bullshitting and just want this guy here, like, and they'll go look, but they know she's not here anyways because they already said they looked.
Okay. Yeah, so you know how they move and can sort of transport themselves through the trees. You've seen Ashira do this. She can do it pretty much instantaneously. So it's possible that they could have searched a very large area. They also have some innate magical powers. Did she actually do it? Probably not. It seems like they are invoking a little bit of subterfuge here. Would they do it if you did what they asked? I don't think you're sure. But did she go look? No.
Okay.
She didn't. She hid in a tree for a minute and came back.
Okay. Gonna turn to Tilda. Back to Tilda. I don't think they're gonna be very much help.
All right. Perhaps we head back into town and see if she slipped off for some reason.
I think
And
something took her.
I might be able to see if I can find her with my drawing.
I would very much appreciate that.
Perhaps in the interest
Alright.
of time, we pursue both options.
You'd like to give a man up for death? Just because they say they might look.
Well, we've only said we'd bring him here. We still need to find out exactly what his motivations were in what he did. If he is truly the person responsible for all of this and is the one who instigated this death and chaos to begin with, without a justifiable reason, then
And
yes,
what
I
if
would
he's
have no
just
problem giving him
uneducated?
up. I will decipher this for myself then.
I'm sorry,
I'll
I
return
just
to
don't think it's
town.
very...
And you continue your investigation here.
I don't think that is wise. I think whatever we do, the reason that we are missing Alina is because she stepped off by herself. I think we should stay together, whatever we do.
Well, if one of us is taken, at least she won't be alone.
Could you all oblige me for one moment while I attempt to utilize this gift? And if nothing comes of it, then we can all go back into town and see what we find there.
Of course.
Fine.
Thank you. Try to do some automatic writing.
Okay. You pull out your pen and your paper, and you begin to try some automatic writing. Let's go ahead and roll.
Okay. Two successes.
Okay. So
I will burn both if it will gain us additional information, which is part of it as well.
let me see.
I'll burn as many as I can. We gotta get our girl back.
Okay. Yeah, Tilda, you I think the one is enough for this because you've spent a lot of time in the library. Can I copy this? Maybe it'll just work. You sit down with the pen and paper and close your eyes, and almost immediately you all see the pen in Tilda's hand start to move furiously on its own. And by the end of this sort of writing, this automatic writing, I was going to say episode. It's not really an episode. Kind of. At the end of this, a couple of minutes later, Tilda, your eyes fly open, and you see that you've essentially covered the page in text. And I'm going to send it to you.
Okay.
You recognize this as a journal entry that you had read once or twice before. This is an entry out of the journal of Carl Linnaeus, who a long time ago, at least 100 years or so ago, between 70 and 100 years ago, was a member of the society and kept copious notes and journals about his and his group's encounters with different Vaesen. So you remember reading this before, and what you've essentially done is written it from memory on this, and it mentions strange dreams. It mentions small luminous creatures that sort of fly around the group between the trees and the rocks. And it mentions how Linnaeus felt compelled to follow them on a path that he could not have seen during the day, and that he would not have known was there except for these small flying creatures who led him back to their home. He then writes about some very strange things that he says he saw, including a whale in a bright green lake with a mouthful of treasure, and other such strange things. You've read this, and you've read many entries similar to it because he had an encounter with creatures that you have done quite a bit of research on. Fairies.
This may have something to do with the Fae folk.
You're saying the fairy folk took her?
I don't know. I have had questions about this. These abilities that Alina is capable of. I don't know. It's all conjecture, really.
Well, what can we do?
We can go back to town. We can try to find more information. We can see if, hopefully, she just slipped off on her own.
I failed her once. I don't want to do it again. I don't know what the right thing to do is here.
I don't know either. But if this is all we have, then this is the track that we should follow.
Right.
As you're having this conversation, eventually you hear what sounds like a tapping, like something tapping against the tree. And you look up and you can see Kira and Mina, who are both still sitting above you, sort of tapping their long, pointed fingers on the tree branch. And you hear again,
What are you whispering about down there?
We're just attempting to make up our minds about what we want to do.
And
Looks to the others. I don't think we shall impose upon your gracious help at this time. Perhaps if our endeavors back in town do not suffice, we shall return and discuss the terms that you have laid out in regard to the man with the hat.
an offer once given and then refused is not an offer easily given again.
It's not a refusal. We simply need a little more time to consider. We are missing our friend after all. We are a bit confused. If we may, we wish more time to consider.
You see the two of them look across at each other again, as if they're contemplating. And then you hear Mina say,
Dusk tomorrow. Our offer ends then. Bring the man in the hat before then, and you will have all the services we can provide.
A more than fair offer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now leave. We're bored of you.
Of course. Come along, Beatrice. Keep my dog close by in case something attacks me as we leave.
So the three of you, and Beatrice and Zozer, who's here also, head back to the city. All right. You turn and head, making your way out of the forest and back to the city of Grimsey. It is now night has fallen at this point. As you make it back through the city walls, find yourself on the stone of Grimsey once more.
All right. Let's return to the Citadel and hope that she's there. And if she's not, let's see what research we can do.
Right.
Okay. The three of you return to Hemlock Citadel. You talk to Jimothy and Stefan. Neither of them have seen Alina come in, and Jimothy is certain he would know if she was here.
Right.
I'm going-
Research.
Yes, I'm going to start with, I believe I recall the book that this came from. I have read it several times now. I shall start there.
What should I do?
You know her best. If there are any haunts that she might frequent or places she may go.
I doubt
Anything
that she
you
just
can think
wandered
of.
off. I mean, she does that, but it's not like this. Not when we're on a mission.
Once they're all settled, Danny grabs their medical bag and jacket and says, "It seems the two of you have this well in hand. I have some business at my clinic to attend to. Let me know if there are any developments."
Of course, Doctor.
We'll be here.
And Danny leaves.
Okay. Let's start with research crew. So Tilda doing some research. Billy, you're gonna help out as you can.
Actually, I think Billy's gonna go up to Alina's room and
Okay.
see if she can get into some witchy stuff.
So we'll do Tilda and then Billy and then Danny. So Tilda, you pull out Carl Linnaeus's journals, of which there is like a whole bookshelf dedicated to these. The man wrote everything down. So it's really just a matter of finding the right one and the right entries. So I'm gonna have you roll investigation.
Okay. Get +1 from all my notes and writing utensils. 0 successes, but I do have that one banked. Can I spend the one banked for this?
Yes, you may. All right, so you sort of go through, and I'm kind of assuming, because this seems like something the two of you would do, that you and Danny, as you are doing different kinds of research and going through the library, you're sort of cataloging everything along the way. Seems especially like something Danny would be doing. So it's
this place
not
is a mess, and Danny does not like that.
Yeah, it's kind of a mess. It has not been tended to for like 10 years. So it's kind of imagining this as like the two of you, since these are things you've already read before, you have sort of gone through, and at least the ones you've read, you've kind of organized by like, okay, well, in these, either by date, or in these he's talking about Grimm's, in these he's talking F for fairy, right? Like,
yeah,
something like that. So yeah, you pull out the couple of journals in which Carl Linnaeus wrote about some encounters with the fair folk. They all go relatively the same way. Sometimes they encountered them accidentally, especially the first couple of times. Other times they sought them out purposefully to gain more information about these creatures. There are many stories in here of the many things that Carl Linnaeus saw while under fairy influence. But there are a couple of things that sort of stay the same across all of these stories. There's always the mention of the creatures blowing some sort of dust, either towards them or in their face, or them encountering some sort of dust or powder along the way. There are always these stories of, even for y'all, completely ridiculous things. So he talks about in the one that you wrote, right? The creatures blowing something in his face and then leading him to a bright green lake in which a whale sat with its mouth open, and its mouth was full of gold and jewels and treasure. And the small folk were encouraging him to go in, take it, take what you want, prodding him and things like that. All sorts of visions of strange things. And they always end the same way, with him falling asleep at some point, or having more dust blown in his face and then falling asleep, and then waking up feeling ill, and having all of the things he had seen sort of the day before or the night before, while he was under this influence, gone. So no whale, no riches, nothing like that. There's lots of revelry involved in these stories, lots of music, lots of drinking, lots of dancing, lots of, beautiful magical lights, things like that, and then falling asleep, waking up, and it's all gone.
Tries to look for any information on finding them, on getting out from under their magic. I guess we know metal seems to work. Feeling kind of desperate, like getting tired, but it's like, I'm not going to sleep until we figure this out. I can't let her down.
Okay. Yeah, you look through a bit more. There are not on the right page. There are a few mentions of metal being used. They find that these creatures, for the most part, live in mounds, sort of these large kind of packed mounds of dirt and earth that have tunnels bored all through them. They typically find metal tends to work. Iron tends to work on most things that you have encountered so far, at least for the purposes of disrupting magic. If it works on the sort of magics that the fair folk use, not sure. Worth a try. You also look through the book, and you find generally the consensus and the thing, the more time that he spent with these creatures, the more things he learned about them, is that they tend to stick to the wilderness for the most part. They do not like machinery. They do not like the mechanical in general. So they will either stay away from it or actively try to get rid of it if it comes close enough to them. But yeah, I don't think you find much more than that.
I'd like to use something.
Okay.
It's called Elementary. Once per session, you can ask the Game Master to explain how clues are connected.
Sure. Put two things together on your Sherlock Holmes brain map.
Yeah, basically. It's kind of what's happening right now. The Ash Tree Wives helped all of these women to do certain things. Things that ostensibly helped the women, but as we have now encountered the Ash Tree Wives, these things are given at a price that usually also helps them. So all of these events and now Alina being taken, any of that connected somehow? Tilda's just going big brain, like writing down all her notes,
Galaxy
and
brain.
putting them all around. Yes, complete galaxy brain right now.
I'll tell you this. While you were in the forest, your interactions with the Ash Tree Wives, because you have interacted with all of them at this point, your interactions with Ashira and Rala were very, very different in tone than with the other two. So, while all four of them have made it very clear that for whatever reason, they will help humans if they are asked. Some out of the goodness of their hearts, some for the right price, some because they want something specific and it's a means to an end. They will all help humans, particularly human women. But they're all probably doing it for very different reasons. Some more above board than the others. They've also made it very clear that lots of things live in the wilderness, that they're not only aware of a lot of other creatures living in the wilderness, but they probably have their own relationships with them like they do the humans of Grimsey.
Cool. Yeah, that's all Tilda's got for now. Gonna do more research on the Fae folk and any deals that they might do.
You're gonna be in there for a while.
That's fine. She's probably gonna be there all night until she passes out.
Okay, so Tilda spends the rest of the evening in the library. Villy. In the meantime, you have gone up to the living quarters to get up to, I believe, what you called some witchy shit.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me more.
So Villy's watched Alina do a lot of things. She doesn't have her crystal ball or anything like that, but have I seen enough to be able to do a spell or something?
Depends on
similar?
the spell.
Well, I want to find Alina, so anything
Okay.
that would help in that regard.
Ooh. Yeah, I think. Tell you what, the dice will tell us. go ahead for me and roll. Where is it? Go ahead and roll learning.
Okay. This will be good.
To see how much you've picked up.
Okay. 0 successes, but I do have 1 banked from before.
Okay. Do you want to use it now or do you want to hang on to it when you're trying to do magic?
I'm sorry. So I'm right now. This is for me because if I don't get this, then I can't. Then I don't know how to do.
Oh, you can
magic
still try.
again. Oh no.
You can definitely. I'm not going to tell you can't try. This is a measure for me of how much you've picked up actually watching Alina do, because a lot of her spellcraft, a lot of her like occult stuff does take the form of her crystal ball. So when she has to do stuff outside of that, it's probably few and far between.
Okay.
So you probably haven't seen her do a lot of it. You've seen her dabble with, herbs and runes and crystals and things like that. So this is just really a matter of how well you can recall it.
Oh boy.
Which is not well. But you can still try.
Yeah, I'll try.
Okay. So go ahead. What does this look like? What do you think this looks like? This spell that Villy is trying to accomplish.
Well, I don't want to step on what Morgan would do, as because Villy is trying to copy her, but I assume it is taking a piece of Alina's sort of something that means a lot to her or is close to her, and using a map and a pendant to attempt to locate her or something in that regard.
Okay. And because you don't remember how to do it very well, we don't step on any toes.
Yeah, fair.
In case you do it wrong. So go ahead and roll. I'm going to have you roll observation because that's what Alina uses to do her occult stuff. You're going to need 2 successes for this to work.
Much better at this. Oh my god, no. No successes. 2, 4, 6.
You could push.
I could push. Why not?
Okay. You can go ahead and reroll. And then you'll take for this to be a mental condition.
Yeah. Nope. Not happening.
All right. So that is 0 successes. What condition are you going to take?
Frightened, I think.
Okay. Villy. You take something that is, in your eyes, something that is close to Alina, something that is important to her. And you sort of following some of the motions you've seen her go through before when she attempts this magic, less the crystal ball, but still trying your best. You focus in on it and you feel a sort of pulse of like warmth, like energy in your chest that kind of runs down your arms into your hands to the object you are holding. And everything around you goes dark, pitch dark. You can't see anything in front of you. And you hear sort of echoing all around you, or it sounds like they're coming from all around you anyway, these voices, like these whispers. Every so often a word will break through. It's hard to tell what they're saying, but every so often you will get a word like help or join or trouble that sort of come through like somebody is whispering sort of from right over your shoulder, and then you'll hear it from the other side. it's immensely unsettling, and you feel this heavy sort of dread settle in the pit of your stomach as you hear all these voices. They start to pile on top of each other, and the whispers start to get louder and louder and louder until it's almost like an unbearable, like, hiss. You know the sound cicadas make when they come out? It sounds like that, but like ringing in your ears, and you start to almost like shake a little bit just from the force of the sound. And just before you sort of can't take it anymore, your eyes fly open and you just have a vision of the forest sort of spread out in front of you. And everything around you sort of grows larger and larger and larger until you're just completely like feeling shrunken and overwhelmed and frightened. And you drop the item that is in your hands and it stops.
I think that after that she's going to go make herself a cup of tea, compose herself, and then join Tilda.
Okay. You go make a cup of tea and get your composure back, though the sort of sounds and the sight sort of stick with you in the back of your head, and you join Tilda in the library.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
I may have something. I don't know if I have something, but I think I have something.
All right.
I think this is all politics.
I'm sorry.
All these creatures live in the wilderness, in the forest together, right? So in order for them to live somewhat harmonious lives, they all must have interactions with each other, relationships, politics.
Right.
I think they know exactly where she is. But they won't tell us.
What benefit would that be for them?
Well, it depends on who took her. And I'm gathering from this journal entry that it may have been the Fae folk. So they're not going to break any sort of agreements that they may have with whatever's going on there in the forest unless it benefits them.
Right. So we have to go find the fairy folk.
What I'm reading, maybe even more chaotic than our current dealings with the Ash Tree Wives. However, it's a possibility.
All right. It's something. That's what we needed.
We all need iron.
I can fetch something. Get something
I
for
would
each of us.
Yes, I would suggest we keep a piece, all of us, at all times.
Right. And what time of day is it at this point?
Night.
It's pretty late at night.
Does it say anything about when they like to come out?
Not specifically, but most of these interactions that Linnea seemed to have had with them did occur at night.
Would it be beneficial for us to go out there tonight?
Define beneficial.
I Elena's my charge. I've
I
taken
know.
care of her most of her life. I'm not just going to leave her out there.
Yes, of course. The majority of the interactions did happen at night.
So if there's a chance, I'd like to take it.
All right. I would not suggest we go by ourselves. Perhaps we see if the doctor could come along.
I think we should visit him at, well, they're not at their clinic at this hour.
Perhaps we should check there first.
All right. I'll gather the supplies and I'll meet you at the door.
Right. Beatrice! The dog is coming.
Okay, so you're getting ready to set out. Do you want to try to gather some supplies before you leave? What are you looking for specifically?
Iron things like fire pokers and stuff like that.
Okay. Stuff like that is stuff you can use your resources and your capital
Sure.
to
I have
gain.
4 resources.
Do you have capital?
I had 2 capital at the beginning. Now I have 1.
Would have meant you bought something. So you can either use your capital or you can roll resources to see essentially how many different kind of things you could gather.
Could I use the 1 capital for these items?
You can use the 1 capital for 1.
So, I'll get the 1. I'll use the 1 capital, and then I will roll for resources for the rest of them.
Sure.
Okay. I'll do the same. I literally have 2 resources, so
Okay.
it's...
I have 1 success.
Okay.
0.
Okay. So you can spend your capital on something like a fire poker, something like that. If you want to call it that. With your resources, you could gather up like, let's see what's on this list here. Like a cast iron skillet.
Sure.
Or like a big pot.
Probably a skillet from the kitchen.
Okay. So head down, convince the chef to part with one of their cast iron skillets. They don't want to. Those are very special. And he's got it seasoned just right.
Oh, the seasoning's the most important part.
But they agree to it. So you come back with an iron fire poker and an iron skillet. This will be fun. And the 2 of you get ready to head to Danny's clinic. So we're going to rewind because this is taking a while. Danny, were you actually going to your clinic?
No.
Where are you going?
Danny goes to find... Danny would not know where Max Nordahl was right now, I'm assuming.
No. I mean, there
But would know
are
where
a couple
the
there are a couple of guesses you could make, but you don't know where he's like staying or anything like that.
Yeah, I think Danny would have walked to like the Drunken Pony to see, like, walk past there, assuming that, like, maybe. But if just like not wanting to like overexert themselves, like in running around town looking for somebody specific, would know that Viktorsky would probably know where Nordahl was at, so maybe go to the constable's office.
Okay. Yeah, you head down to the constable's office. You enter. It's pretty late, but there are still a couple people. There's always somebody here in case of emergency. So there is just one sort of younger looking officer at the front desk. It's sort of the intake desk, who is like nodding off a little bit, but sits up when you arrive and says, good evening.
Good evening. Dr. Madsen here to see Detective Officer Constable. What do we refer to him at? What is his title?
He's a detective.
Detective. Viktorski.
Viktorski, let me just go check and see if he's still in his office. He said
Thank
Dr.
you.
Madsen.
Yes.
Right, I'll be right back. And he scurries off down the hallway. You hear, it's not a huge building, so you hear sort of a knock on a door creak open. And then a minute or so later, he comes back and says, he's still here. Right this way.
Thank you.
And he leads you to Viktorski's office, which is right down the hallway. You enter. It's a pretty small room, but it's got enough. There are some like cabinets off to one side that have papers and files and things are stacked up on them. And he's got a desk that sits at the back in front of the window. And you see him sitting there, papers sort of strewn out in front of him, detective's hat sitting on the corner of his desk next to a glass of scotch. He looks very tired and a little worse for wear. But he looks up.
Your hours are worse
Doctor?
than mine.
These aren't even the worst of it. Thank you, Charles. And the younger officer sort of nods and heads off, closing the door behind you. So, Doctor, what can I do you for?
Well, we've hit a bit of a dead end in our investigation. I was hoping to speak with your colleague, Mr. Nordal.
I mean, I suppose it depends on where you've hit the dead end. He's not exactly the thinking type, if you know what I mean. More of a point him in the right direction and he'll shoot it type.
Right. Is there... This investigation, as it began, do you know his involvement in it? How did he come on into your services?
Well, I've known Max for a while. He actually just returned to Grimsey after being abroad for a couple of years, so got back a few weeks ago. And, well, when he's here and something weird pops up, I get him involved. Getting harder and harder each time, though.
Why is that?
Well, not everyone on the force believes in what you do, I would say. So you got to pay the man, and sometimes he fixes the problem, and sometimes he doesn't. But getting people on board with a, I don't know, monster hunter or something is not always easy.
Did he have involvement in this case before you contacted him?
Not that I know of.
Well, the dead end, as I referred to it, results or is the product of this supernatural business, as you might say. So I fear his expertise might be warranted.
So you find something?
Yes.
Well, go on.
I have a difficult time speaking of these things. Out in the forest, there are people living out there. Creatures, I guess you could say. It seems that the perpetrators, the criminals in this case, may have been under the influence of or making some sort of deals with these entities.
So, what? Like devils?
I don't believe that is the linguistic terminology they would use to describe themselves.
Hell, no man would describe himself as a devil.
No, but that has certain theological undertones to it that I think we should avoid in this investigation.
Alright, so like what then?
Well, Basin is, I think, the most accurate descriptor. I believe my other colleagues are more versed in this subject than I am. But I believe they refer to themselves as woodwives, ashwives, something along those lines.
Them I've heard of.
So, regardless, we're attempting to understand the cause of this disruption and their current animosity towards the people of Grimsey. And I believe the expertise of Mr. Nordal would be appropriate here. I can find him myself if you let me know where his lodgings are.
Well, I suppose you don't see the harm. He's not much of a talker, but he knows a thing or two. He's staying in a boarding house down the street from where I live. Pretty sure you know where that is.
Right. I'll visit him. Hopefully he's still awake.
I don't think he sleeps, to be honest.
Really?
He's a strange man. Strange rituals and such.
You said he spent time abroad recently.
Oh, I
Where was that?
don't know. Didn't ask.
Has he changed in recent months?
No, if anything, he's come back even more himself than he was before.
Sort of brutish and direct.
Very.
Right. Well, I will attempt to
Like,
be
I swear he's
as-
gotten taller.
It's unlikely that he would grow anymore at his age.
And do you know his age?
Fair point.
I'm saying, you've come into my office telling me that there are strange women living in the trees outside Grimsey.
You believe him to be some sort of basin?
No, nothing like that. But I imagine you have enough contact with things of the sort. Might start to rub off on you. Max thinks so anyway.
Interesting. Well, I would like to speak with the gentleman myself then.
Right. Well, 2 streets over and down at the crossroads, there's a boarding house. 3 stories, can't miss it. Lean into one side a little bit.
As you pointed out, I'm aware of the location. I'll be off then. You have a pleasant evening, officer.
Detective.
Detective.
You as well, Doctor. You as well.
And Danny leaves.
Danny leaves. You get up, you head out, shutting the door behind you, and over a couple of streets to a tall, sort of wood, leaning slightly to one side, structure on the corner, the crossroads of 2 streets. This is a boarding house. Not necessarily the nicest place, but the cheap place to stay if you're going to be in town for at least a couple of weeks. Lots of people come and go through here. You head inside?
Yes.
Okay. You head inside. There is a sort of small makeshift desk that has been set up at the front, sort of in what would have been the foyer of this building when it was a home. There's nobody behind it, so relatively easy for you to just kind of flip through the guest book, perhaps. Find Max Nordall's name in a room on the 3rd floor, and you head up that way. Do you knock?
Yes.
Okay, you knock. You hear some shuffling around inside after a brief moment, some heavy footfalls, and opening the door just a couple inches to look out, you can see sort of one half of a thick, scarred face, the face of Max Nordall sort of looking out at you. What?
Good evening, Mr. Nordall. We were acquainted the other day. Dr. Madsen?
Okay.
You are assisting with an investigation. I was hoping to speak with you on the subject.
All right. He
Thank you.
backs up, opens the door a little bit more, enough for you to fit through, and then quickly shuts it and locks it behind you.
Anything odd about his room?
No, it's actually pretty sparse. There is a bed sort of pushed up into one corner, a small sort of chest of drawers with like 3 drawers. You see his coat and his duster and his hat sort of draped over the top of him like he's thrown them down. And then on the other wall, there's a writing desk with a chair. He sort of walks over, kind of sits down heavily on the bed, gestures to the chair.
Thank you. Then he sits. I wasn't expecting to find you awake at this hour.
Don't sleep much.
Right. Is it a form of insomnia? Perhaps an affliction? I am a physician. I could prescribe you something if you have trouble sleeping.
No.
All right. I have some questions about the investigation. We were looking into the matter. I was curious what you found in your own efforts.
Go on. Ask.
Right. Are you familiar with the Vaesen referred to as woodwives?
Yes.
Is it your belief that they're responsible for these actions?
Don't know. But probably. Wood burns easy.
Right. Have you had dealings with these sorts of creatures before?
Sure, yeah.
When might that have been?
Over the years?
Recently?
Maybe. Why?
Right. Well, my colleagues and I, we did our investigations, and it led us to an ash grove outside of the city. It was there we found some evidence of these creatures existing, including, it seemed, prior efforts by people such as ourselves, hunters or investigators of these sorts of creatures that had previously dispatched or dealt with these woodwives before. And as you are the only other hunter of these creatures in the area, the assumption was that you had prior dealings, that perhaps some were missed, and might be the current instigators of these actions.
I don't miss.
Everyone makes mistakes. It's human nature. We can either have a discussion as rational, reasonable adults on what possibly could be the cause here, or we can allow ourselves to fall into juvenile ideas of righteousness and infallibility.
Go ahead and roll manipulation.
Sweet. I got a +2 when cheating or deceiving. I have been trying to lie to him about exactly what's going on. Would it count as cheating or deceiving?
I think so.
Cool.
At the very least, it's sort of keeping the cards close to the vest.
That's 2 successes.
Okay. He sort of sits forward, kind of leaning his arms on his thighs and thinks for a second, kind of rubs his face. You say an awful lot of words. You know that.
My apologies. A life of study in academia causes people to speak in strange ways. I will be more direct.
Be pretentious, you mean?
Perhaps. That is words some might use for it.
All right. Ask your questions. What do you want to know?
Are you responsible for the current state of the Ash Grove?
Yeah.
What happened?
Did some looking. Thought maybe it was a creature. Found a creature. Try to kill it. Easy enough. It's what we do, isn't it?
So no investigation or reason for your actions? Was there a victim? Someone you were trying to protect?
Strange things started happening. Before the big crimes, right? Viktorski was looking into little ones too. Thieving. Husbands acting out. That kind of thing. Found a few more women who went out to the woods for help. Nothing as serious as the burning of the factory or anything, but still. Crimes, assault, that kind of thing. Found out where they went. Found out who gave them the help. Tried to shut it down. Obviously didn't work.
No. It doesn't seem so. Well, I am curious. What got you into this lifestyle? Viktorski says you've been doing this for years.
Different things. For a while, money. For a while, doing it with people who saw the same crazy shit you did. For a while, because I thought it was the right thing to do. Now, it's what I have.
What happened to those people that you worked with?
Died.
At the hands of these creatures?
Sure, yeah. Do this enough times, one's bound to get the jump on you.
So do you believe they are all worthy of destroying in this way? Surely, from my experience, some exhibit some amount of intelligence, not dissimilar to our own, perhaps superior in many ways.
Just because someone's smart doesn't mean it's worth anything.
Fair.
Find a lot of people to be the same way too.
Considering a recent encounter that I had with a colleague, I can agree with that sentiment. I must ask, though, your methods, they seem very direct. Do you speak with these creatures or attempt to converse prior to these more drastic measures that you take?
Sometimes.
But not always.
No. Not always.
This time, with the creatures in the grove, did you speak with them?
Yeah. One of them.
Did they have any justification for what was going on?
Said they were helping. Don't suppose victims of the crime saw it that way. But it's neither here nor there. It's not my job to care. My job to stop it happening. And if I get something for myself along the way, that's good too. We couldn't reach an agreement. So we did a little experimenting.
Experimenting how?
Not a lot of encounters with these kind of creatures on the books, so figuring out how to kill them, sometimes you gotta try a few things. I figured, burn the tree. What's living in it will burn too. That didn't work. Try the iron too. You're telling me that didn't work.
It doesn't seem that was the case.
Damn.
Either that or there are more.
Oh, one day I'll catch one.
And what would you do if you caught one?
Same thing I always do.
And that is?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you.
No. I am a person of science. I want to learn as much as I can about these creatures and the methods of dispatching them. Anything you can share, really, would be very beneficial to me.
Vason got a lot of powers. A lot of magic runs through that blood. Do you know what I mean, Doctor?
I understand the principle. I'm still attempting to grasp the full understand magic as it exists.
You take that kind of power, that blood, put it in someone like me, you got someone who's better at hunting the fuckers down.
As a transfusion or simply ingesting?
Mix it in with a bad swill, can't taste the difference.
It's intriguing that certain genetic properties would be able to be passed on in such a way. Have you done this before with other creatures?
Oh, yeah. Kind of a method.
Well, it's interesting. Could you provide me with some examples, perhaps? Here, as a peace offering. And he pulls out a bottle of liquor. I do have a bottle of liquor. It doesn't say what kind it is. Sets on the table.
I think he cares.
For your secrets and your information.
All right. I could tell you some things. You
Please.
keep it to yourself.
Yes, of course.
And he starts to run through with you some different kind of Vaesen that he's killed. And then immediately afterwards, drank the blood of. Because he thinks it gives him powers.
Okay. Yikes. Danny listens and takes ample notes.
Okay. You're not entirely sure whether any of it is true. But he 100% believes in it.
Danny stays, listens, engages in the conversation for a while until things sort of wrap up.
Okay. Anything else you want to ask him?
Thinking if there's anything else. If I receive any guidance from the powers that be as to things that we want to know from this guy so we don't have to double up on this later on.
Boy, my only question is he like diehard in these beliefs, or does he show any wavering in the?
Yeah, actually, could I do an observation, to based on this conversation, to gather is he just full on murder, he's just gonna murder his way through a path of Vaesen, doesn't really care what's in his way at this point, or is there anything sort of redeemable there?
Yeah, go ahead and roll.
Okay. Did it take both my successes from before, or do I have one?
No, you still have one.
Okay, because that's 0. So I'll use my 1 from before.
Okay. As he talks to you, and really this is the most you've ever heard the man speak. He talks about different kinds of creatures and different methods of dispatching them, and tells you about the occasional time when he's had actual conversations with different Vaesen. For the most part, it ends poorly for the Vaesen. What he's talking about to him, you can tell from his perspective, it's incredibly cut and dried. He's been doing this for a very long time. He's been able to see these creatures since he was young. He was essentially recruited by some folks who were out to get rid of them, and it's all he's ever done. It's pretty black and white to him. He firmly believes easiest way to deal with it, get rid of the problem.
Danny, as the conversation kind of dwindles, Danny kind of rubs their eyes and looks out the window and says, well, it's rather late. I should leave you for the evening. perhaps we'll speak more on this later.
Sure, yeah. All right.
Thank you for your time. Truly, it's quite illuminating.
Well, thank you for the drink.
Of course. I hope you enjoy it.
Oh, I think I will.
All right.
Night, Doctor.
Good night. Danny goes, leaves out the door, goes to the end of the hall, and waits there for a bit.
Okay.
Because Danny put the poison he got earlier into the bottle of liquor.
What is the poison rating?
It is 9.
Okay. Hold, please. He rolls force, which he has a lot of. Will you please roll 9 dice for me?
Of course. It's just 96, right?
Yeah, just 96.
Do I have something?
96.
That's 3 successes.
Okay. He is going to contest that. Is force. Which is a lot. Wow, Max. Come on, bud. You're better than that. All right. So, he is going to mark, because he rolled 1 success, he is going to mark 2 physical conditions. That on here. Not looking good for old Max here. 9. All right. So he sustains the 2 conditions. The poison lingers. So Danny, you wait for a bit. And eventually you hear sort of a loud thud. As over time, he takes enough conditions to become broken. He is also going to sustain... We haven't had to do this for you guys yet. But once he reaches broken, he sustains a critical injury. So, which one makes sense for poison? I'll call this nerve damage, maybe.
Yeah, it's like something gastrointestinal or nerves or something.
Yeah, we'll call this.
Crushed genitals is on the list too.
It is on the list.
Throw that out.
Or no, I gotta pick a fatal one, huh?
I mean,
we'll call
guy,
this.
He fell real hard.
Danny
so...
is gonna act. I will say, Danny is gonna act quickly because Danny doesn't want him to die. He just wanted to incapacitate him.
Okay, so I'm gonna call this. Yeah, we'll call this nerve damage. Because that one is not ultimately fatal. But it does give him a defect, which is pain. So his force is a -1 until the injury is cured. All right, so you hear a sort of loud thud on the floor of his room.
Danny immediately walks back to the door and moves inside. And if he is unconscious on the ground, then Danny will immediately try to provide enough first aid, perhaps getting him to retch up the content, anything lingering in his stomach, and providing him whatever medical stuff would need to like neutralize enough of the toxin to not kill him, but is planning on trying to keep him unconscious for a while.
Okay, go ahead and roll medicine.
Okay. What if I heal him too good here? That would go bad.
Can't heal him too good.
Alright. Medicine. I have my doctor's bag. 1 success.
Okay, that's enough.
10 dice.
Yeah. Well, gotta roll 1 out of 6 chance on everyone. Yeah, so you stabilize him. So he's still not in good condition, and the damage is done, and that's going to linger for a while. It can eventually be dealt with. The actual sort of damage that the poison has done to his nerves is done. He's semi-conscious, mostly unconscious, but he's not gonna just die.
Okay. Danny checks his pulse, breathing. Right. Well, hopefully a worse fate doesn't befall you. Danny will, because of the conversation, does take out a syringe to take a blood sample. Real quick. That was not part of the plan, but calling a slight audible there.
Okay.
And
Take
takes
a vial of blood.
Yeah.
A couple of vials of blood.
Yeah. And then turns off the light, or like douses the lamp or whatever. Closes the door, heads back outside, and if it's okay with you, I'd like to say like called or contacted Richter beforehand. And just meets him outside on a dark street corner. Says, right.
Bit late.
Yes. Second floor, third room on the right. Not dead, so be gentle, but could you please bring him to my estate?
All right, I see we're up in the game a bit.
Dan does not laugh, that's just me. Perhaps. It's very
Right,
important.
well,
I'll pay you.
I'll
double
tell you
the normal
now,
rate.
I'm not in the business of kidnapping generally, so you need the dead ones, I'm your man. But one-time deal this one, Doctor.
Thank you. As I said, you will be adequately compensated.
Oh, I know. He makes his way upstairs, loads the man onto a cart, and takes him to your house. Okay. Takes Max Nordahl to your house, unloads him like he usually does with different specimens, takes him down into the cellar, and money in hand, drives his cart off into the night. And that is where we're going to take a break, because I think we all need one. A little bit. When you do a kidnapping to solve a kidnapping. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us so far. We're just going to take a very quick, like 5-minute break, and come back. And after we refresh ourselves, we will see what happens next. So if you're out there, stick around. We'll see you soon. And welcome back, Internet. Thank you for hanging out with us during our break. We are going to dive back in a little bit after where we left off. So, Tilda, and Villy. You have gathered your things. You have left the Citadel, and you were heading, I think, initially to the clinic, to see if you can find Danny. But it's very late at this point, and no one is there. You sort of knock, look in a couple of the windows, but everyone is sort of locked up and gone home for the day. So you head down the road, probably like a street over or so, to where Villy, Danny's home is. Danny, what does your house look like?
Fancy.
Okay.
I don't know.
Good enough for me.
Architecture would look like here. I don't have enough references for that. But it's an older house. I think it's probably one that was probably established like very early on in Grimsey, and then like the city got built sort of around it. I think it's maybe like 2 stories, and it's very nice, very well manicured, tended to, and everything.
Okay. And where are the doors leading to the cellar?
I think those are around the side of the house.
Okay. So, Tilda and Villy, you make your way toward Danny's home. It is dead of night at this point, middle of the night. No one else is around. But as you make your way up toward the house, the lights in the house are all off. There are no like lanterns lit in the windows or anything. But you do see around the side of the house sort of the glow of light. And sort of here, as you approach, you hear some shuffling, maybe some low voices. As you come around the side of the house, and you see Danny there supervising, I assume. Tilda, one man you recognize in the form of Richter, and one other carrying something very large, having lifted it off the back of a cart and heading down the stairs into Danny's cellar. And I think you come around just as they are making their way. They've just made their way through the doors down the stairs, and you see this other man who has his arms wrapped around what look like a very large pair of boots.
Mr. Richter?
Dr. Madsen.
Miss Tilda, lovely to see you. And they keep carrying down into the basement.
Damn it.
I knew it. I knew it.
Good evening, both of you.
You're resurrectionists. I knew it. Oh, it makes so much sense.
To be more specific, they are.
Right.
Oh, this would be an amazing story.
Miss Tilda.
Yes.
This does not need to be a story.
But you would be a source. Everything would be confidential, of course.
Our current engagement would make that a bit suspect, I believe, given the current attention that we have from the
If I have to
constable's
wait
office.
3, 6, 9, 12 months in order to make this story happen, I will, Doctor. Don't you worry.
May we speak inside, please?
Of course.
Right.
Leads down to the cellar, into the cellar.
See an open room that I've never seen before.
Yeah, like the bookshelf. Like there's like I guess it wouldn't be a bookshelf, but it'd be like a shelf with like supplies or something on it. Maybe like wine or something has like been slid to the side, and there's an opening behind it that Billy has never seen.
Oh, right. So this is where you disappear to.
Yes. There are some aspects to my studies and my work that I have to keep private because of old-fashioned beliefs and archaic laws.
Right? This
Tilda's
room is
looking around
filthy.
furiously, taking notes on everything. Just everything here.
This room hasn't been touched in years.
I keep it very clean.
So you think?
And I think there's like a couple of like tables, lanterns around the room. I think it's pretty well lit. And there's like a couple of tables that have like, probably like one is empty, one has like a shrouded body on it, and then Danny directs Richter and his assistant to put this new specimen on the table closest and says, and Richter, if you could, there are some straps over there in the corner. If you could perhaps restrain our new companion here, I would appreciate it.
Of course, yeah.
Thank you.
Why would you need to restrain a dead boy? Is that Mr. Nordal?
Yes, who is in fact not dead. I've taken
How
great
did you
care in
manage
that.
to get him down?
Seems he has a vice for liquor.
Clever bastard. What are you intending to do with him?
Well, I had some thoughts on that. Whether I was going to share. I suppose we're all here now, so you're as culpable in this as I am. I spoke with him at length this evening. And based on my conversation with him, it seems that he's not going to simply stop what he is doing, which could put further people in town at risk. And if it becomes the easiest method to deliver on our promise to these woodwives, then that may be the most efficient way of rectifying this matter.
What kind of conversation did you have with him?
Well, he told me that he has spent a great deal of his life hunting these sorts of creatures, and his methods are ambiguous, but very brutal. It's not the sort that I believe our predecessors at the Citadel would have aspired to be. The type to shoot first and ask questions later.
And you don't think he's capable of changing?
Based on my questions towards him, it did not seem like that was an option. But I acknowledge that, which is why I did not let him die.
How very kind of you.
Right.
What did you do to him?
I acquired some poison. Strong stuff, too. Would have killed probably most other people outright. He did tell me some interesting beliefs of his, that he often hunts these creatures and captures them for the purpose of consuming their blood to gain their powers as well. And it was then that I made up my decision to poison him. I don't know if this is accurate, given everything that we've seen, or some sort of delusion, but if he is in the habit of consuming the blood of his victims, that was a fairly large concern for me.
Everyone can walk down a bad path in their life. It doesn't mean they're not capable of walking down another.
Right. I've just simply found that people that are in the habit of, I suppose it wouldn't be cannibalism, but something similar, typically require more care and caution when dealing with.
Will he be quite all right where he is?
Yes, I will. Once he is restrained, I will administer treatment to ensure that he recovers.
How long will that take? Because we may have affairs that we need to deal with right now.
How long would it take for me to wake him up?
To wake him up,
Yeah.
or to not to like cure him of the effects of the
No, just to wake him up.
poison. It wouldn't be that hard to wake him up. You got some smelling salts and things around, probably a few minutes.
I could have him awake in a moment if you wish.
You misunderstand me. Will he be stable where he is? Or will he
Yes.
require around-the-clock care?
Oh, no. There may be some lingering effects. Have some nerve damage associated with the poison's effects, but nothing that would be permanent should he receive the correct aid. Though he may not be very happy with me if he figures out what happened.
All things considered, I think his anger is the least of our concerns.
All right. So are we turning him over to these creatures then?
I'd like to speak to him first, if I can. Perhaps not tonight when he's just been poisoned and tied up.
In the meantime, there may be another route. I believe that Alina was taken by the Fae folk.
Right.
And given that all these different sorts of types of Vaesen have their own affairs, as I am sure that human beings also do within society and politics and the like, that may be one of numerous reasons why the Ash Tree Wives were not as obliging as they might have been.
You believe that this has some sort of connection with our current case, Alina's disappearance?
I'm not for certain. But the Ash Tree Wives asking very particular favors in return seems to keep in with a lot of the, help that they have given so far. They helped a factory to be burnt. They helped to bring down very wealthy people that may continue to expand the town further. All the help that most of them gave, at least most recently, seemed to have helped them as well. it's a working theory. But if the Woodwives don't have her, and they aren't willing to lend their aid, unless we go into their quid pro quo, at least, perhaps we could deal directly with the Fae folk.
Right. Well, we have a decision to make right now regarding that. If we're going to go along with my initial plan to turn Mr. Nordall here over to the creatures, or not. Because if not, then it might be best for us not to let him wake up down here and implicate ourselves in his poisoning and kidnapping.
I think he should be given a chance to change.
Well, then perhaps we can... He will be experiencing side effects from this. Perhaps we can manipulate this in a way that puts him in our debt, where you can perhaps convince him not to pursue these sort of actions any further.
Wouldn't have to lie to him if you'd just come to us about this.
I found this to be far easier.
Of course you did.
If you wish to have the opportunity to speak with him, then we can do so, but we will need to watch him in case he decides to use this as a chance to run off and burn the rest of the forest down, with the women and children who are currently in it alongside. He does not seem a peaceful man. It does not seem he cares much who gets in his way.
Remind you of anyone?
If you're calling into question my actions.
You may not have used a gun, Doctor, but it seems to me that you yourself have taken to the idea of shoot first and ask questions later, if you don't mind me saying.
I have excised the problem in as delicate a manner as I could. Max Nordall is the problem here. If not for his actions, likely none of this would have happened. If it turns out that the fairy kind are in fact behind this, and this would have happened regardless of him burning down half the forest and attacking these creatures in their home, then I will gladly apologize for doing so. But for now, I'm only working with the information that I have on hand.
Billy, would you like to speak with him?
Yes, I would.
Well, if that is the case, I would suggest that we not do this here. Billy, if you would carry him up to one of the guest rooms.
Of course.
Okay, so we're going to take off the restraints and move him up to a guest room.
Danny's
estate.
whole thing here, my plan is to stage this like something happened when I left the room. I came back, found you, and I saved your life.
Sure.
That's what I'm going for here. Whether this
All
works,
right.
we're gonna see.
So you move him up to a guest room and wake him up.
Yes. Sort of like, again, stages the room, put some like medical supplies to the side, like stages it like Danny has done some like procedures here and been working very hard to stabilize him. And then yes, it administers whatever needed to wake him up.
Yeah, and after a few minutes, he begins to come to. You can see his face twist a little bit. He's a little stiff. He's in a little bit of pain. He's a little sort of pale and wan, but not severely injured as far as you can tell, and still has use of all of his limbs and everything. Sort of comes to, eyes fluttering open.
Mr. Nordahl, can you hear me?
Doctor.
Are you alright? How are you feeling?
I got run over by a cart. What happened?
I'm not entirely sure. I left the room, and as I was leaving, I heard a collapse. Sound of a struggle come from your chambers. I returned and you were on the floor, convulsing. I'm not sure if there was some sort of attack, or I couldn't find any external injuries. Do you remember what happened?
No. No clue.
Right. Did you see anyone? Any creatures come in? Perhaps the ones that we spoke of?
No, not that I remember. Just you.
Right.
But I also remember you leaving, so there's that.
Well, you're at my estate right now. I had you brought here because my clinic was closed and my staff was gone for the evening. Villy has been helping me attend to you. Well, unfortunately, a very large man, and I could not move you on my own.
Kind of you.
You'll need to stay here until we can be certain that you've stabilized.
Right. I don't think that's necessary.
I assure you that it is.
Fine.
Thank you. Please, take this. Hands him some benign pills to take, and a glass of water.
Okay. I'll take him.
Right. Well, I'm going to gather some supplies. Villy will remain here in case you need anything.
All right.
Please excuse me. And Danny leaves, hoping that convinced him.
Okay, we'll see. What do the other two of you do?
As soon as the lying started, Tilda left the room.
Okay.
Billy's gonna sit down, grab a washcloth. Well, I guess he's a big man, so she's gonna stay standing, but she'll take a washcloth and some warm water and start to pat his forehead with it as they do.
He immediately is like, nah, come on. I don't need any of that.
Are you sure? You took quite the large tumble.
Oh, I've had worse.
Sure.
Trust me.
We were quite worried for you.
I mean, you don't know me. Well, alright.
No, but we're in the same line of work. And we're working together.
I'm alright.
Right. Billy's gonna sit down in a chair and kind of cross her legs. Did the doctor tell you about what we found out in the forest?
Bits and pieces. Sure.
Did they tell you about why the escalations happened?
In so many words.
What did they explain to you?
Listen. I'm sure you mean well. But like you said, I've just taken quite a tumble. I'm not really pressed to sit here and repeat information that you already know.
But I'm not sure what you know, and I'd like to fill you in if I can. And I don't want to be repeating things that have already been said.
Go ahead and roll manipulation.
Cool. My cloak. Let's go. Oh. 0 successes, but I do have one from before.
You want to use it?
Yes, I do.
Okay. He sort of props himself up on his elbows, kind of stretching his neck a little bit. What was your name?
Villiblom.
Villiblom. Fine. Taken to hunting creatures out in these woods. Hard thing to get anyone else to do. So I take the job. Crimes start happening. I find who's responsible. Go out. Try and get rid of them. Didn't do as good of a job as I'd like. So now they're out for blood. That was my understanding, at least.
Did they tell you that the escalation only started after you started attacking him?
Sure, that's what I meant when I said I tried to kill him and now they're out for blood. I know I'm a big man and a little thick. But I've been doing this for a long time. So I don't need you or your doctor to talk down to me.
I've been doing this for a long time too. I've been able to see him since I was basically born. I've seen a lot of things out in the world. I have a lot of experience. So maybe I'm not as far from you as you think.
I don't think you're far from me at all. We're probably very much the same, you and I.
In ways. Absolutely.
And in other ways, we're not, Villiblom. So, you have your experience. I have mine. Let's leave it there.
I don't think I can. Because if you don't stop what you're doing, things are going to get worse. And they're mostly going to get worse for you. Things have already started going bad the way you handle situations. People are dead because of what you've done. Not because of them, because of you.
Is that a threat?
Could be, depending on how you take it. I think you and I both know that there's only a few ways that this can turn out. Either you kill all of them, or they kill all you.
Miss, I've known this job was going to kill me since I took it. I'm on borrowed time as it is. Though I'm starting to think that maybe you know who it is what did this to me.
Did what?
Put me in this bed.
I don't know anything about the medical business that my companions have take part in.
Well,
I don't know how to fix things that are broken in this way. I can only help.
You said yourself things have already turned bad for me.
I was speaking of the people that have died in this town because of your actions.
You know, as I recall from when I was young, they teach you an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. I'm not a religious man, but I'm not the one out taking revenge, am I?
And what are you doing? Why do you feel that violence is the best way in killing?
Why do you try to put me beneath them? If I think killing is the best way, so do they. They showed it to you this past week. Burning down factories, attacking doctors, killing businessmen. You gonna sit in their tree and lecture them?
I might if they need it.
Well, then I suggest you be out there doing that before they burn down another building.
Sir, I've had an experience in my life. I was much like you. I killed the wrong creatures. Massacred them. Found out they did nothing wrong. Now I have to live with that. Do you care nothing for the people that you've killed? Or the creatures?
I've never killed a person, so I wouldn't know.
You don't think your actions have had any consequences?
I didn't say that. But needs of the many.
I see.
If you had your
Isn't-
way, what would you have me do?
Well, you could join us in what we do. Finding solutions to problems. Sometimes that involves killing. Most of the time it doesn't. We
What
stopped the
you do
mermaid
is read books and threaten men who are sick in bed.
Oh, bless me, no. Not me. Well, the second one, perhaps. No, I'm not the researcher. I'm there more for the muscle. And for taking care of them. But we're out there to protect everyone. They are living creatures just like everyone else. Sometimes even they're more misfortunate than the rest. Sometimes they need correcting. But most of the time, they just need to see things in a different way. And I think that I've been shown recently that there's a good way to solve a problem and there's a bad way. And I don't want to be doing the bad ways anymore. And if you're going to continue to do what you're doing, you can't do it here. Especially if we're here.
So it is a threat.
If you like.
Go ahead and roll manipulation for me. One more time.
Okay.
For all the marbles.
For all the marbles. 3 successes.
Okay.
Thanks, roll 20. That was a good time for it.
How many do you want to spend?
I'll spend all of them.
All of them?
Sure.
Okay. Unlock the secret ending.
I wanted to romance him. Damn it, Savvy.
He sits up. And you can already see in the lantern light, the color is already starting to come back to his face. The pallidness, the paleness is mostly gone, and he sits up, wincing a little bit, but looking much more like himself, sort of getting a second wind. And he sort of swings his legs over, stamps his big feet on the ground, and kind of leans on his legs, kind of looking over at you. I like you. Simple business, that. Even I know that finding the good and the bad is not so easy. I'm sure you like to think it is. But you know it's not. As much as we'd like it to be, we know it's not so cut and dried.
Doesn't mean we don't stop trying.
I never did. Just because you don't see the good in what I do doesn't make it bad. You're one person. Out of millions.
That's why I'm letting you leave.
Is that what you want? Me to leave?
It is. I want you to leave and go far away. And I don't want to see or hear hide nor hair of you.
I take it you want me to do this before your doctor comes back.
To make things easier for me. Perhaps down the line, we can be friends. But for now, this is how it has to be.
Suppose I'll leave Viktorski a note then. Oh, and tell your doctor that's good scotch. They shouldn't be wasting that on the likes of me.
I will.
Max Nordahl stands, grabs his boots, pulls them on, slings his pack over his back and his rifle, walks to the window, throws it open, and hops up on the windowsill, sort of leaning out over the... It's probably on the second story, right? Leaning out the second story window. Looks back at you. Last chance.
Sorry?
Well, one of your offers was me working with you.
Do you really think you can work under those conditions?
Well, suppose not. Nice to meet you, Villiblom.
Mr. Rojo?
He turns and sort of braces himself against the sill and launches himself out the window. You hear two sounds. There is a loud, very loud thud as something incredibly heavy hits the ground. Probably louder than it should have been. But he's a very big man. And then as you hear those heavy footsteps sort of pounding off across the stone into the night from the second story window, and the rest of you that are in the house, You hear from out in the city. As Max Nordahl leaves town.
Billy starts cleaning up the room. Holds down the sheets.
Danny comes back in. Oh, you let him go.
Sorry, Doctor. Couldn't be helped.
I suppose by the fact that you let him leave, it means that he won't be a problem for us then.
Correct. Not for a long while.
This does mean that if Miss Tilda's theory doesn't pay off, we are going to have to kill the creatures in the forest.
If that's what has to be done, that's what has to be done, but I don't think that we'll have to get there. We stopped a mermaid with the power of love. I think there's another way.
I fear our luck might run out sooner or later. And Danny leaves.
Just walks past towards where Tilda is. Where is Tilda right now?
Tilda found either a library, a study, somewhere with a writing table. And I want to say she brought one of the more helpful journals along with her from the Citadel. And yeah, is reading up on making fairy deals.
Billy walks in the room, kind of sits down, very informally, like more like a friend than like a servant. She sort of like sighs. If that man and I had gotten together, it would have been one hell of a rut.
I will assume then that you let him go.
I don't want to assume people are all bad or Vaesen. Maybe that's my downfall, but can't be tricked into that again.
I don't think it's a downfall. I think, in fact, it's one of your best attributes.
Thank you.
Of course.
Don't think the doctor will be speaking to me for a week. Which might be nice.
All things considered, might be a blessing.
I just need to hold up for a second here. Danny never tries to talk to anybody. You all are inserting some character traits to Danny that do not exist. So I call bullshit on that scene.
Danny does kind of only speak when spoken to.
It's more of a self-fulfilling prophecy for Billy at that point.
She's gonna be the best week of Danny's
She's
life.
gonna be talking less.
So, do you want to be going out in the forest tonight?
Don't really see if we have much of a choice.
Right. I'll make sure the doctor's ready.
Thank you.
Are you alright?
I have this horrible feeling that I'm just missing something.
We're going to get her back. You know that I'll do anything in my power to do it.
That I know. And you know I would never let anything happen to her.
Alright. You're doing the best you can with what you know.
That's the problem. I don't know what I don't know. Let's get everything together, shall we?
Right. If you grab your coat, I'll grab the doctor. Gonna go up or down to the doctor's laboratory that I know about now. I don't know. Where's Danny?
Where's Danny?
Danny would be down in the has like some equipment and stuff that they are fiddling with in their secret lab, not so secret lab.
Doctor,
Yes.
we're going to be going into the woods to look for these fairies.
Right. I assume I should accompany you.
Yes, please.
I'll be up in a moment.
I'll get your things ready.
After she leaves, Danny takes the vials of Max Nordstrom's blood.
Nordal?
Nordal's and Nordstrom. Nordal's
I like
blood.
Max Nordstrom.
Max Nordal's
Very
blood.
snazzy.
Male model, Max Nordstrom.
Sets stores them safely. I assume Danny has something set up where he could store blood safely.
Yeah.
Puts those away, and I think before they leave, takes another sample of the blood that is marked with their own name, and wants to sets those aside and mixes a solution of the two blood types in a small vial to set away and see if there's any change or disruption to it, and then goes to follow, planning on coming back to return to those results.
Okay, yeah, you mix the two together, create your solution, and set the vials aside for later. And the three of you gather your things and head back out into the woods. Into the woods. What is the plan?
Okay.
Not my plan this time.
We're back where we started with the group of you wandering into the forest and going, we have a plan, and then getting there and going,
The plan is find the fairies. There are no steps to this plan, but it is a plan.
We did also. We kind of had that spot near the tree, which we kind of can find our way back to, of where the ground was disturbed and where where Beatrice found.
Mm-hmm. We
Yeah.
could go talk to her friend too. I mean, she would
Karina.
help us. Yeah,
That's true. Okay. Why don't we talk to Karina first? And then, if all else fails, we go back to that particular spot and see what we can do.
okay. So at
I will bring tea this time. I'm bringing something.
Your crumpets.
Okay.
Bring your crumpets.
Crumpets.
Should we
I'm bringing
sleep
the
first
crumpets.
before we do this too? Because it's
No.
also okay.
Nope.
like a 3 a.m. Okay.
Can you sleep at a time like this? How dare you? Our girl
Alina is in
missing.
danger.
The baby is
Eventually,
missing.
without sleep, there are going to be some consequences. Just
Danny grabs
so
some
we're aware.
amphetamines from their medical bag.
This is when Danny develops the drug problem Tilda thought they had. So, at 3 in the goddamn morning, you walk out into I can't read chat at a time like this. My spinach bubbles. You walk out into the forest and you follow the footpath that you now know leads toward Karina's home, crumpets in tow. Beatrice, is horse coming? Beatrice is coming.
Yes, horse coming. Danny doesn't want
Horse?
to walk. It's late. Danny's tired.
Horse is coming. All right. Well, Zozer's probably freaking tired too. So, Danny
What
on
could he
horse.
be tired from? He's a horse.
That's how it works
Doesn't
for
have a
sure.
job.
He's on a job.
You are his job. You make your way toward Karina's hut. Knock on the door, and you hear inside inexplicably, some shuffling, and bright-eyed Karina opens the door. Oh, you're back.
Yes, we do apologize for the very late, early, whichever hour. May we come in?
Of course, dear. Come along. Shall I make some tea?
That would be lovely, thank you.
Right. She sets about making some tea, serves it to all of you. And where is Alina?
That's why we've come to see you. And she like opens the box with the crumpets in it and like sets them on the table. Alina's
Well,
gone
I
missing.
certainly hope you haven't turned her into a crumpet.
No, of course not. She's gone missing in the forest.
Oh, not again.
Again?
Well, you do know how she likes to wander.
I don't think it was that in this case. The ground where she was standing was disturbed, and there's no scent of her anywhere.
Unfortunate.
We believe she may have been taken by the Fae folk.
Well, with her abilities, it wouldn't surprise me.
Is that something they generally do?
The fairy folk like to keep to their own. And when they see their magic in others, they like to bring them into the fold.
Can you explain a bit more, please? Because we feel like she's in danger and we've been looking for her since she left.
Well, that's all dependent on who's taken her. I can't tell you that. But I can tell you Alina is special. And if she were to encounter fairies or the like, it's quite possible they'd want to keep her.
Then I think it's a good idea that we try to find her. Do you have any ideas of how to do this?
I do. Though I don't like it. I didn't like sending you out there in the first place, and now you see what's happened. But they're tricksy creatures, but they're not evil. Not like some of the others. Oh, what time is it? Near the witching hour. She kind of looks out the window at the moon. You'll have to follow the ley lines.
How do we do that?
Right.
Well, you all have your special eyes, your sight. Head out into the forest, the way you went before, towards the trees, towards the ash grove. You'll see the fairy paths.
Do you have any suggestions for if we do encounter any Fae? How to... Best way I can describe this is to make a deal? To retrieve Alina?
Yes. Don't.
Oh.
But I can safely assume you're not going to follow that advice. So, they're always out to get something, but the fairies, they like their games. They like their trickery, their riddles. I've never been able to do it, but They'll try to trick you. If you can trick them in turn, well, that's an amount of respect you'll never get from anyone else. They'll give you what you want then. So be smart. And don't accept any drinks from fairies you don't know.
Right. All right. We've brought iron just in case.
Good. Good. It's disruptive of trollcraft.
So that's good then.
Yes, I said good twice. I thought that got the point across.
I do apologize. It is rather late.
Well, I think we should be going then, just to make sure we're there in time.
Of course.
Yes, let's wander around in the forest in the middle of the night for even longer.
All right. Be careful, all of you. Or I'm afraid you'll come back just two. Then one. Well, and then I won't have anybody to serve tea to.
It's wonderful to see you again.
You as well. Bring her back.
There's nothing else you can offer us in this moment? Way of protection or anything like that?
Well, I've already given away one of my prized possessions to you earlier in the day. And I see where that got you.
Right.
Well, thank you for your time. We'll be back to visit soon.
Good. Be safe. And she kind of ushers you all toward the door.
We go.
And you head out into the woods. How are you going to try to find these fairies?
Look for the fairy lights, right?
The ley lines.
The ley lines.
Yeah. You make your way in, following the same footpath you did before to the ash grove, and then you head past it, deeper into the brush. You walk for a while, looking for anything out of the ordinary, and for a while you don't see it until you do. Eventually, you all come across a little bit of a clearing where there are some younger trees, some sort of saplings that are trying to break through in a little bit of an open area, and you see a perfect ring of mushrooms on the ground. You take a closer look, and all of these mushrooms and the brush around them are almost sort of there is like a dusting of very fine powder on top of them.
Don't touch them. The dust. Linnaeus mentioned it quite frequently. It may, regardless, whatever happens first, it will make us very sick afterwards.
Should we not attempt to acquire a sample for an antidote should we stumble upon it accidentally?
If you would like to touch it and perhaps then see a large green lake with a whale with large bushels of treasure within its mouth. By all means, Doctor, please go ahead.
I've been handling poisonous and dangerous compounds for some time now. I think I know how to conduct myself.
Looks to Billy.
Offers they're gonna do what they're gonna do.
Well, fuck, I'm gonna do it. Yes, Danny's gonna try to get some of the hallucinogenic dust.
Okay.
Is Danny tripping ball? What? Succeed, I get the dust. Fail, Danny gets to trip balls the entire next session, probably. So.
Amazing.
Roll medicine.
Cool. Will my medical equipment help me with this?
Yeah, sure.
One success.
Okay, so you very carefully scoop some of the dust without disturbing it too much into a vial. Plug it tight. Put it in your bag. No ill side effects as far as you can tell. And you all stand there for a moment, sort of looking, trying to parse where to go next. When off to one side, I'll say you're right, sort of off to the north, you hear music. Just ever so faintly.
Well, that seems about right. To
I'll
the
go first.
revelry. Do be careful. Watch out for the dust, and I suppose don't eat or drink anything, as Karina so wisely stated.
It's a good idea. Billy's gonna bend down and rip the bottom of her skirt up and wear it as a mask.
Okay, so you tie some fabric around your nose and mouth and head off towards the sounds of music. You walk for a few minutes, Tilda and Danny following behind, I assume, as the music grows louder and louder. Finally, you come upon a clearing where a sort of jaunty tune is being played. The music kind of carries over the clearing. And in the center, you see several different sized, like packed mounds of earth with what look like holes bored into the sides of them, just a few inches across. On top of them, you see more of these large mushrooms that have sort of sprouted out, and the mushrooms and the sort of vines and all of the plants and the brush around have this faint glow coming from the layer of this this like dust, this powder that is sprinkled across them, and dancing and flying and floating and having a wonderful time with themselves in the center of this clearing. You see hundreds of tiny people, some of them with wings and sort of long blue hair, flitting about and frolicking and all of that dancing and all that wonderful things. Some of them you see are on the ground. They look humanoid for sure. They look like humans, but tiny. And they're older, sort of wrinkled, using walking sticks and things, sort of knocking those on the ground or clapping in time with the music. And you see across the clearing, leaned up against the tree, sitting, no worse for wear, but sound asleep, a small smile across her face, Alina. And that is where we're going to end our session for the day. So,
Woo.
you found him.
Boy, we found her.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us today. And thank you, my lovely players, for playing. Thanks, Morgan, who's in the chat right now, for letting me have fairies kidnap your character. And we'll see how this resolves next week. Let's do our questions for experience real quick. Dun, 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 dun. Did you participate in the session?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, very much so. Did you confront any Vaesen?
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Quite a few, I would say. Did you identify a previously unknown Vaesen?
Does Max Nordal count?
Yeah.
No.
Well, we identified what took.
None of you saw shit.
We identified what took Alina.
Fairies, though.
Yeah, fairies. But fairies.
None of you saw shit when it comes to Max Nordal.
Fair.
Though I imagine Villy might have some suspicions.
There was just a suspiciously timed wolf howling in the
It's
distances.
fine.
Fine. So yes, were you affected by your dark secret?
Nope.
Yeah.
Oh,
Not
no,
at
not
all.
at all for Natty. Nah.
Never in my life.
Daddy doesn't have secrets.
Not anymore.
Did you take risks to protect other people?
Yes.
Like the whole fucking time.
Yeah, I think everybody did that one. Have you learned anything? What?
So much.
Eat blood, get power.
People get
Blood
power.
get power.
Some power,
Richter
anyway.
is a resurrectionist.
Danny's gonna eat a fairy by the end of this. Just you watch.
Oh no, what have I done? Okay, did you develop something in your headquarters? No.
Yeah.
Did you perform an extraordinary action?
Yep.
Yes.
Does poisoning and kidnapping a werewolf count?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody was pretty extraordinary today. All right. Take your XPs. Yeah, I should have gotten like at least 5 or 6.
7.
I lapped twice. I don't know.
All right. So we've got a lot of XP to spend, a lot of talking amongst the party to do. I have some things that I need to talk to players about. Specifically players who weren't able to be with us today for shenanigans purposes. But you all have a week to think about that. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We were so glad to have you here with us today. Those of you that were out there in chat, thank you for the raids and the new follows. We love you so very much, and we're so glad that you could be here with us today. You can follow all of these folks on social media. All their Twitter handles are below their faces. Mine is as well. You can also follow GameKnights on Twitter. You can subscribe on YouTube. You can follow and subscribe here on Twitch. And yeah, anybody want to plug anything before we say goodbye?
Go watch Flames of Freedom tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern. You can see the wonderful commission that we received.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, play things with the gods after. Woo!
I'll be there. All right. Well, thanks everybody one more time. Thanks to my players for going with me on this journey, because we've reached the end of my patience for doing things by the book, and I'm now just making everything up. So thanks. We made it to my favorite point of GMing, and I'm glad you all are going along on this ride with me. We will be back 1 week from today on Sunday, September 12th, 2021 at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. But until then, good game and good night, Internet.